Well, guys, sometimes you just have to bite the bullet. You see, I was out eating at this place called Freddy's. It's a steak burger slash frozen custard place. Forbes magazine says it's one of the best franchises to get into. And see, if you're going to get into the food business, you got to get somewhere where it's like known for the dessert. That way you can shove the dessert on people, a la Cheesecake Factory. Oh, hey, we went to Cheesecake Factory. We got to have the cheesecake. You can't not eat the cheesecake. You go to Cheesecake Factory. That's where the money's at. You sell people on the dessert. So I'm sitting there eating with my mom. She's buying because I'm broke and live in her basement. And this song comes on that was stuck in my head for a while, of which I watched the music video, and it's called It Must Have Been Love, But It's Over Now by Roxette. You know, she's got the look, but it's a duo, and the female does most of the singing on this, and it's a really good song. It's got a shitload of views on YouTube, and for a song that comes out, 1990, actually I think they had an earlier version of this, but it was like a re-release tie-in type thing with the movie Pretty Woman, and they have Julia Roberts clips in the music video, and they got this Lotus Esprit, and it's looking pretty sweet. And it's a cool video, it's a great song, and it had been stuck in my head for a while, and then, lo and behold, Hulu goes and adds Pretty Woman to their repertoire. So I checked out Pretty Woman from 1990, directed by Garry Marshall. Huge hit. Had a budget something like in the 20 million range, I believe, but made a good $460 plus million. A similarly priced movie was the biggest earner that year, and that's Ghost, made just north of 500 million. Jeez. Yeah, this is back in the days when you could put money into making a good production. It didn't have to be $100 million. People weren't getting paid insane amount of money, and you could make a profitable movie. Make a name for yourself and still make money, by building a career. Now everybody wants all their money in their one movie they're going to be in because the rest are going to be straight to video. So Julia Roberts really becomes a mainstay here. This makes her a huge hit. I remember this movie was such a hit with the ladies, but it is one of the chick flicks, it's not a film that you expect a guy to be watching, and I think this is why I've put this off for so long. So we have this guy, Richard Gere. I guess he's being dumped by his girlfriend, and it's kind of a weird introduction to him, really, here. He's like being dumped by his girlfriend, but he's at some business party type thing, and he borrows Jason Alexander, George from Seinfeld's Lotus Esprit, and drives down Hollywood Boulevard. Confusingly, like he hadn't been in the area before, but he's staying at a hotel, in the penthouse of a hotel. But what's he doing? He's like, hey, I guess I'm just gonna go get a prostitute. And he does this, and he picks up Julia Roberts. Now, there's this inconsistent myth of this movie. It's like, oh yeah, like some rich guy's just going to go pick up some virgin prostitute. Well, I've heard people say that, and that doesn't seem to be the case here. Julia Roberts talks about how having been a prostitute, at least for some bit. Like, there was a girl on the street that said she's new, maybe relative to some of the hardened vets of the walk, but I mean, she talks about how she's been with some dudes doing this stuff, and it seemed fairly comfortable with what she was proposing. So she sees his Lotus Esprit, is kind of like, hey, this thing's really cool, it's got 4 cylinders, can you believe that? And he's like, yeah, it's not really mine, and he's a terrible driver. He lets her drive it some. They go to his place, and people are giving him looks like, oh, who's this riffraff pulled off the street, right? And Julia Roberts has this short blonde bob wig with I don't even know how you look at this tank top fastened with a loop. It's a bizarre thing. What she's shown wearing on the poster, which this poster is the forerunner of all of the rom-coms of like the 90s, 2000s movie posters. It's like everybody wants, you want the white background, you got the two stars there, they're turned, looking at you, you go and have your girl make you see the movie, right? This is the rom-com poster. So they go up to his room, and she wants to just get it on real quick. It's like $300 for an hour, didn't she say? And it's like, okay, or was it 300 for the night or something? It's like pretty cheap to get 1990 Julia Roberts. Now, I don't know a whole ton about prostitutes, but here's what I do know. They don't look like 1990 Julia Roberts. And at $300, I mean, even if you say prostitution's wrong, you got to be looking at a good deal right here, okay? So he's like, "Hey, I'll get you for the night. How much for the week?" And it's like they barter this away. It's like $3,000, and he's kind of just more interested in hanging out with her for a bit. But then they do hook up like 9.5 week style in places, like banger at the piano bar. It's like he's like a rich guy, and he's clearing out the area, and like everybody does what he wants, and he always gets what he wants. He has a phobia about heights, so he doesn't walk out to the balcony, or sometimes she likes to look out at the view. But he has her go and get dressed up. It's like, hey, if you're gonna be hanging out with me for the week as I go to these like business events and things, I need to have a date on hand. No, you don't. You don't go to, hey, let's have a business lunch and talk about buying your company. Oh, hey, I need to bring a flashy girl around. There doesn't seem to be any logic behind this. Like, this guy I'm trying to steal the company away from, he gets intimidated by hot women, so I need to have a hot woman on hand, and maybe she can help me sway his opinion. That should have maybe been brought up. But you know what? The first 20 minutes of this movie is really lethargic compared to how modern films are. I was just thinking that there would be so much more music. There would be like sound effects. There would be a lot of ancillary stuff going on if this was made today to try to liven up their banter and their romance. And I prefer the way it's done here. How we're watching actors act instead of, oh, let's set this up and then whoop, change scenes over here. Here's something quirky over there. Here, look at this. Whoop, go back. It wasn't frantic like that. And yeah, maybe it is sort of a slow burn for a rom-com. But there's some things here that women really like. Okay, so they want to be like Julia Roberts. They want to be pampered like her, huh? They want this transformation. She ends up having to go down to Rodeo Drive to get new clothes for these meetings. And in the process gets shunned. She walks in and like, hey, we don't have anything for you. Get out of here. And then she goes to Hector Elizondo, who's the manager of the hotel, and it's like, hey, I'm supposed to get a dress. And it's like, okay, I'll set you up with somebody. But then she has to get some more stuff. And tells Richard Gere, yeah, the people over there were mean to me. And it's like, yeah, what? They were mean to you? What do you mean? Yeah, they wouldn't let me buy anything in their store. Okay, well, we're going to go someplace else. Has all the help at the store focused on Julia Roberts. She's trying on all the dresses. Now the women in the audience are like, yay, look, it's Dress Up the Movie. And then she goes by the place that shunned her earlier, and they're like, hey, can we help you because she's dressed up? And it's like, oh, hey, you were in here yesterday when I came by, right? Yeah. Big mistake. Huge. And like shows all the bags of stuff that she bought, and it's just like, look what you missed out in. That's a highlight of the movie. I think it's kind of weird that George Costanza is like the villain in Pretty Woman. You're hearing some F-bombs from George. That things don't work out with this acquisition. Richard Gere has a change of heart. He doesn't want to just sell off this company. He wants to use it to actually build something. He wants to do something more than just dissect these companies he takes apart and be ruthless and get the money. And this upsets his He says lawyer, but I'm wondering how this affects him so much, because I guess he would still be on retainer, but it's kind of like business deal. And then George tries to rape Julia Roberts. It's like, holy shit. But, she ain't necessarily having that. And it's rated R for just a couple F-bombs and maybe the idea of a prostitute, really. It's kind of weird. There's almost some boob in it, but they tried to smear it out. This is a Touchstone picture, so it's technically Disney. And that's the way they would have it. But hey, Disney does sometimes tiptoe into the R-rated stuff. Look at like something like Con Air, right? Richard Gere takes Julia Roberts around, gives her cultured up, shows her opera and things, and they definitely fall in love. But the end of the week comes around, and it's like, well, I gotta go. I have to head to like New York. I want you to come with me. She's like, oh, so I'm just something that comes along with you. I need more than that. And he's like, look, I'm sorry. This is where I'm at right now. I've had a divorce. A girlfriend left me. This is the deal. And she's like, I can't be doing that. So then she gets in the limo, drives off, heads back to where she lives with, I guess she was going to make $3,000. And she got to keep all these dresses, which surely cost more than that. And then you hear the Roxette song, it must have been love, but it's over now. It used to be good, but I lost it somehow. But they didn't get to the best part, where it really picks up in the last section of the song. And so I was like, oh, I was waiting for that part, but it didn't get there. And then, Julia Roberts is down in the dumps. Richard Gere's feeling pretty bad, but then he has a change of heart, and he goes and he gets the limo. Hector Elizondo kind of points him in the direction. It's like, oh, hey, so you're leaving today, sir. Yeah, yesterday our limo driver here, who's driving you to the airport, he took her home. Hint, hint, we know where she lives, if you want to do something about it. So what do? He shows up at her apartment as she's packed up and is leaving, which I think it's kind of coincidental that they were able to cross paths again, because it doesn't entirely add up. If she left the day earlier and she left her apartment to move to like San Francisco without him knowing this, but he's like playing music and stuff, looking for her. She looks out the window. He goes up the fire escape, has to overcome his fears. He's overcoming the fear of the heights, and he's overcoming the fear of love. And then she meets him like in the middle. He gives her some roses he bought from some woman on the street. And there's your movie. I didn't hate it, This was okay. Much more tolerable than the rom-coms that follow, which are trying to do comedy and failing. I'd rather have the good romance, as you get here, with less of the, hey, we need a stupid comedy side character to do something dumb every 3 minutes. Something to think about. I give Pretty Woman 3 out of 4 stars.